Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump have both talked about ending taxation on tips. This is a story that I did earlier this year for NPR's Life Kit about how to know how much to tip. And what I discovered when I was reporting this story is that the answer to that question is incredibly complicated. And that is because depending on where you are, your tip means vastly different things. So there is a federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, but then a lot of states will have their own minimum wage. Some states, like Washington State and California, have minimum wages that are more than 2 times the federal minimum wage. And the situation gets even more complicated because in most states, there's something called a 2-tiered wage system. There are people who earn a sub-minimum wage. The federal sub-minimum wage is $2.13 an hour. It hasn't changed since the 90s. If you get a piece of pie and a cup of coffee in a diner in Tennessee, it is possible that your server is making $2.13 an hour, and they are counting on your tip to get them up to a minimum wage. Now, if you go into that same diner in Washington State and order that same pie and coffee, your server is earning more than $16 an hour. So your tip is gonna possibly mean something very different to that person. So it's a really difficult situation for customers and for the people getting tips. So how would ending taxation on tips affect the 4 million plus tipped workers in the US? Probably not too much. About a third of those workers, according to Yale's Budget Lab, do not actually make a high enough income to qualify to pay federal taxes. And for those who do make enough to qualify to pay taxes, chances are the portion of their income that would be affected would be pretty small. In fact, a lot of experts say that ending taxation on tips is a little bit of window dressing. Really, what would be more helpful to workers is if things were a little more streamlined, a little less confusing, and there wasn't so much to keep track of for customers who were deciding when and who and how much to tip. By the way, to get information on what the laws are in different states, a really great resource is the Economic Policy Institute has a wage tracker. You can use it to look up all the laws in your area.